Thomas. How are you today?
Good, man. I'm a bit tired, but yeah, man. I'm
Well,
good overall.
well, we'll make your day better because
I hope so.
you are now in somehow episode 4 of the Dopest Generation Podcast. How's that feel?
That it's a little astonishing for the levels of laziness we have exhibited in
Right.
almost every facet of our life. I don't think we've done 4 things consecutively.
I know. You know, that's so true. And I was thinking, like, imagine if we actually get to like 100 episodes. Even if we're not like doing amazing things with this, I'll still be very proud of myself.
Yeah, for sure. That we are just able to do 100 things.
Yes.
B, I would like to relive this when I'm like old and decrepit.
Yeah, I think that's it's a good point because like even if we're not able to make something of this, I think it's good just to like, reminisce at some point and be like, well, that was fun.
The good old days.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just even to like hear like, because I wonder sometimes like if there was a way. I know there's like obviously like videos I have of my birthday and stuff like that, but like there were those key years like between 18 to 22, 23, where there was a lot of changes that happened with me.
You mean like bodily changes?
Well, those happened way earlier. I developed very fast.
Oh, okay.
But
I was hoping there's no like video footage of that.
there is no video
Yes,
there's
it's
no video.
like my
Yes.
first pube
No,
on
no.
Rupam Singh's
No, that-
like YouTube
don't
channel.
Worry, don't worry. You know what helps the world, like how a certain aspect of my personality helps everyone else. I'm a very private guy.
You keep your privates
I
private.
I keep them exceptionally private.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
rule of thumb.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like it would have been fascinating to have like if I'd have done a podcast in those years, because like just in terms of my views and thoughts and political beliefs and social beliefs.
Yeah,
think I
for sure.
developed
I
a
think
lot.
like just to log what our opinions are, because I feel like that
Yeah.
also changes with time and with age. You know how they say like some people
100%.
like get more Republican-y as they get older.
Right.
Like I wonder whether when you're like 65 and you'll be like, oh, these taxes.
Well, so far the opposite has happened.
Yeah, it
where
seems in
I've
your
been
case.
going. Yeah, so I have so far. I'm an exceptional to this alleged rule.
Yeah. I'm just looking forward to like when my grandchildren or great grandchildren, because science will advance at that time and we'll live till 200.
Right.
So when my
That'll
great
actually never happen, but go
grandchildren will come and be like, great granddad Tommy, can you please tell us about the time on episode 2 when you had diarrhea at the beginning?
Oh,
And
yeah,
be
yeah,
like,
yeah,
gather
yeah.
round, children.
Uh-huh.
And we'll have a fake fire because also this is the future and real fires will not
Will
exist.
not. Right. Because
Yeah.
they'll be banned.
Also, yes, there will be no oxygen in the world.
Oh.
Only carbon dioxide.
Wow, this is a fascinating world.
I've thought a lot about this.
So no carbon dioxide, but somehow humans will exist.
Oh, yeah. Because we'll
Oh,
all
wow.
have like those little, you know what astronauts
Yeah.
like have? Like those
little
fish bowls on their
masks
head.
that
No,
prevent
I
them.
don't think it's a mask.
Oh,
I think
I'm
it's
sorry.
a
I meant
fish
like
bowl.
helmet.
It's a fish bowl.
Oh, it's not even a
It's
helmet.
Not, it's not a helmet.
Okay.
It's,
all right,
there's
it's
no.
good to
Yeah,
know.
we'll all wear fish bowls.
I didn't know this is how we were going to start this episode, but
Oh,
this is,
well, now you know.
yeah, this is so
if
far
you
been.
know, you know.
Yeah, this is so far been like we've known each other for a while, right? But I feel like every day I learn new things about you and what goes on in your brain.
Exactly.
It's
I like to
fascinating.
keep some things private too. You know.
Well, how? Clearly. Because, what? Okay. So, wow.
This
okay.
is my vision for the future.
Right. A world where people aren't able to make intimate contact, like, within.
No. If you wanted to
with
like
their
kiss your
heads.
special someone, did I say special? Everyone is also Bihari
Yeah.
in the future.
Spatial.
Special someone,
Space.
you wouldn't be able to do it
But what
because of
what
a
if they were your
fishbowl on your
special
head.
someone, though?
Your special someone, you could.
You could?
Yeah,
Because they'd be
you'd
rich and they'd be
able
able to, like,
I
buy
mean, this
oxygen.
fishbowl is just like you could take it on and off. I mean, it is the future. It's like we would have made some progress.
But you said there's no oxygen.
you just there's oxygen tanks or oxygen rooms.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, man, fuck, let's make like a new version of Layla where it's not like water that's running out,
It's
it's just
oxygen.
oxygen. Yeah, it's not very different from the original concept, but like I'm sure Netflix will buy it.
Yeah,
They buy everything these
they
days.
do buy everything these days. Also, yeah, that's probably seems like a world that's closer than we
Yeah,
probably care
I
to
would give it
admit.
like 3 to 4 years.
Okay. Well, hopefully it's not that quick. Hopefully my kids have to deal with this shit, not me.
Exactly.
All right, we'll leave them with this shit. Like we'll do what the previous generations did to us.
Yes, fuck us over.
Fuck the world up, and then
Yeah.
be like, "Oh, these
You guys
youngsters,
figure it
they're
out.
all lazy."
You're the future.
Yeah, exactly.
You will
See,
get us out of
depth
this
and
mess.
political commentary. That's what you get. That's the other thing you get. Um. Okay, so there's a TV show, a mini series that Netflix recently put out that we both saw that we thought was kind of interesting.
I told you they buy everything.
They do buy everything. Tell me about this mini series, Thomas.
Okay, so it's called The Family.
Okay.
And well, basically it talks about how there's this dude called Douglas Coe,
Mm-hmm.
and how he's created this little network, which is, and the entire motive or objective of this network is to infiltrate some of the most powerful, I guess, chambers of the world's politics.
Halls of power.
Yeah, and then just spread the word of Jesus, but
Right.
not, well, I guess their own definition of what Jesus
A
is.
very
like.
fascinating
But
definition
yeah,
of Jesus.
I that's actually one of the things I really found interesting about the show. The rest of it, I mean,
I think the show kind of weaves in and out of being interesting.
yeah.
You know,
So what's your overall review of it?
it's good. It's good. I thought it was. I thought the initially, like when I just finished watching it, I was like, unless you're very deeply steeped in politics, maybe you don't need to watch this. And I think I was thinking that just because of the fact that they were exposing the whatever they're called, the family or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Or
But
the
then
fellowship, as
yeah, the
it's
fellowship.
known by a lot of different
yeah.
names.
But then more I thought about it, I was like, yeah, but like if you're that deeply steeped in politics, you probably already know about them. So I'm currently very confused. Like I'm not sure who I would recommend this to, if you know what I mean.
I'll tell you who. I
Yeah.
think a lot of conspiracy theorists
100%.
would
That's a good
love
point.
this kind of a show. There's a lot of people I think who have, I mean, people who are either religiously minded or like they're like complete atheists, and they're saying like this is the problem when church and state like mix together. So I think people have those general kind of ideas of like, oh no, let's keep religion out of it. Or some people feel very strongly about, no, religion should be a part of politics.
Right.
Like just for example, what like a lot of BJP supporters feel like what's happening in India right now. They think it's a Hindu nation, right? So either way, wherever you stand, I think if you feel like there is a very close entanglement of religion and politics, I would recommend it to someone too. My issue with the show is that there's just a lot of here are the dots. I don't think it really connects the dots. I don't think they do a good job at it, and there's no real smoking gun. It just
I
seems all over the place. They're like, oh, look at this, the fellowship or the family
Mhm.
showed up at this particular point in history and at
Mhm.
this point in history and this, and you're like, okay, now give it to me. Tell me the point where they actually meddled, or and then they don't get into it.
I 100% agree with you, and I think that was one of my biggest critiques of the show as well. Is like they show you a lot, and they say like these guys do this and these guys do that, and they were involved in this, but it's always like they were involved in somehow trying to protect these guys in the background,
Yeah.
not like they were the architects of certain bad things. And I
Exactly.
think that's why, like, to be honest, like Douglas, like I think the guy is very influential, but I don't know if. eh, Again, they imply towards the, and again, spoiler alert, but they kind of imply towards the end that the we are in the current political space that we're in because of, in large part, because of the work that he did.
Yep.
But I don't think they really like
Establish
established
why.
that well, and
Yeah.
or how,
How? Yeah.
right? Like that's the thing. I get it. Mike Pence and like
Yep.
some of these like really religious right wingers, and I definitely acknowledge that the space that uh, mainstream Republican Party is in, at least today, is significantly more pious in nature than I think the establishment Republicans were trying to do with someone like a Romney, for example.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
I also wish they kind of, because they also talk about how Democrats were involved as well. So I kind of wish that they even went into that. They're like, or at least say who was it, or how were they involved at the
well,
very least.
I'll tell you exactly why they didn't go there, because there wasn't that much to explore there. That's the.
But then don't make the point then. Like they kind of,
Oh,
again,
no,
it's one
look,
of those things which they
I-
just like laid all of these
I
points
can
out
t-
there, and I was like, oh, okay, interesting. All of these points are they're not,
Yeah, no.
it's still very interesting. I would definitely, I think everyone should watch it, but I just don't think you'll get as much out of it as you were hoping for.
So let me kind of, for people that haven't watched the show and probably are not going to watch the show, like what you kind of mean by then don't mention it,
Hmm.
right? Because they talk about, I think it's Mark Hansen, or the
Yeah.
the representative from, I think it was Ohio,
Yeah.
who vanished. Thin air, vanished from the face of this earth for like 2 weeks or something, and again, because I knew this, I had known this story, and he eventually came out, and initially he was like, "Oh no, I went on." Like there was this implication that he was on this hiking trail,
yeah.
and he
and
was
even
like out
Trump
there.
mentioned it recently, like
Yeah,
very
yeah.
recently at one of his rallies, even though
Right.
this happened a few years ago.
Yeah, yeah, and he's out there being like out there, like conquering the land.
Yeah.
And turned out he was having an affair with like some Argentinian woman,
Yeah.
and that's basically where he was. And where the family came in is like they kind of helped him in the background, like kind of I think Douglas Coe like basically tried to help him like establish his like place in politics, and he said
Hmm.
apologize, but like don't worry, and like they have this cultish thing where they have this weird frame of like no, it's okay, like
Were chosen.
we're chosen. And
But I really found that fascinating. What I really loved about the show was that the fact that they're strong in their belief, however fucked up their belief is, but they have a certain belief about what God's plan is, or
Yeah.
Jesus's plan is rather, and they felt that only a few people were chosen, and that you shouldn't focus on helping everyone. You should only focus on helping a few that were chosen, who are in positions of a lot of power and influence.
right, so let's get into that, because and this is where it just got kind of nut jobby to me, because I think they have a fascinating like I think their headspace is fascinating for someone to believe that, and to get other kids to believe that, I think is, I mean, if you can get people to believe that, I think, wow. But, like, it should be a bit of a red flag for you if one of your leaders, your leader, keeps giving you examples of how the Nazis,
The mafia.
the mafia, Mao, like all these terrible individuals. Like this dude he never gives you an example of like Like, oh, well, have you seen the union and how they function, how they're able to get better wages for the. No, it's always, hey, that Adolf Hitler, he sure knew how to organize people, and it's
Yeah,
like that should be a bit of a red flag.
yeah. I did also like what he talks about and how he goes about building this massive network.
Hmm.
Is his whole thing is you need to have an invisible organization, and in a day and age where everyone is so focused on branding and getting like making sure you're like really well known and everyone knows your every step, there's a few people, him especially, because he was known as like a stealth leader. He's built this massive organization that's put, well, allegedly influencing geopolitics in this very unknown way. It's
Yeah.
very invisible. And as someone who works like say in a fairly bureaucratic organization, I can see the merits of his argument. There are times when things just go under the radar, and things happen, things take place.
Yeah.
The more known things get, sometimes there's a lot of stumbling blocks along the way,
Well,
which he manages to overcome.
sure, but this is where my other critique of the series comes in. Is I think like he seems a little more self-important than I think, or I think he thinks he's very self-important. He has that a bit of an ego, and I
Yeah,
know it seems like he doesn't because he tries to keep it secretive. But I think it's because he has these delusions of being some sort of mafia lord,
yeah. But
right?
again, it goes back to his own sense of belief, right? Because he believes, I think he truly, truly, and like I think a lot of the people in the fellowship truly believe that they were chosen.
Right. No, but like they were sure, but again, like they go into so many things. They go into Jim Inhofe and like what he did in Uganda, and there's a couple other people, right? One of the dudes.
The guys that goes to the guy who goes to Romania as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
To
And like they're spreading this anti-gay, anti-trans hate, and it seemed like Doug Coe and the family were more like their psychiatrists than they were like their order givers.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Like it didn't seem like at no point like did the maker of this series ever establish to me that Doug Coe was directly responsible
Exactly.
for this happening.
And you know what? It honestly, it left me at the end of it. I kind of felt like it's horrible, but I was like, the fellowship doesn't seem too bad. It genuinely seemed like a place, because like the show did like not that great a job at establishing their actual meddling in politics. It kind of came across to me at the end of the show that hey, there's this bunch of guys. It's just like a fraternity where everybody's just like really helping each other out, and they're helping them out through tough times. That's the message I got. When that's not the message you should be saying. And I
No,
honestly, I looked at that at the end, and I was like, you know what? That seems it ascribes to my idea of religion, which is like community and fellowship.
right. Well, before we get into some of that, let me tell you what I wanted this documentary to be, or how I would have changed it. I would have taken out some of those politicians because you didn't really need them to be a part of this. You could just have talked about their stories,
Hmm.
but it should have really been more about like the dude that wrote the two books and him explaining. Because at one point they hint at a better documentary series. Remember when the dude hands him the papers and he goes, "Here, take a look at
Yep.
it," and they hint at like the structure of the
Yeah.
organization. And I was like, go into
Go,
that.
go, yeah, exactly.
And the other
I
thing,
really, that was my feeling at the last episode. I was like, fuck, what? So are you're not showing me the fucking papers?
he talks about Doug Coe and himself and
The
a couple other
structure,
dudes.
and he says, and right at the beginning they're like, oh, there's a lot in here. So I'm like, okay, nice.
Yeah.
They're gonna get into it.
and they get and
But
they
then get into it.
and they hint at this like it's clearly a fundamental theocratic organization. Like
Yeah.
I think their end goal in mind is some sort of theocracy.
Yeah.
Get into that. Get into like how this organization actually functions in terms of what like firstly what the org structure is.
Yeah.
Like what is this obsession that like because they clearly have this other obsession of like women need to be in like a servile role.
Mm.
They hinted that, like get into that, and then the most important thing, and maybe like when you actually go through struggle is when you realize this, but I'm pretty sure any average journalist knows this. They never talk about where Doug Coe gets his money from or how the organization makes money.
Yeah.
Talk about the money. Any journalist will tell you
Follow
the money.
Yeah.
I kept thinking at some point they're going to talk about how Doug Coe makes money. At some point they're going to talk about where he comes from. They kind of hinted like where he's from, but they don't really talk about where he gets the money from. Even that Abraham dude, the dude that actually started the organization. No one ever gets into that. Yeah, that shit pissed me off. Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause, like honestly, this Duck Code guy seemed like a bitch ass dude to me. Like I was like, this guy's like, I was like, good to know that exists, but I don't let them like. It's like children. I was like, let them play and do little games. They didn't, and I'm not saying they're probably not dangerous. I'm saying the documentary series was unable to establish to me that this is
why it's dangerous.
Yeah,
exactly. But the weird part is, I know so many people who are Dogko type of characters, and I think it's a lot of these people. They lie within this in the Venn diagram of like fixer, like on one point, but then they also understand just like they are religious. They're truly religious.
Fixer and nanny is how it came across to me. Like that's the issue. Like I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But the issue with this documentary is they made them seem like, oh, these guys are mafia types, but they really came across as like mafia nannies.
Yeah. Which a lot of them are.
Yeah,
like, and
sure.
I think it's not just religious organizations. I think there's also like a lot of other organizations. Like if you look at like most organizations that seek to eventually build like a large network, and for some reason, like I've had like a very limited experience like with Rotary clubs, but I get the same feeling from like Rotary clubs. It's just like a lot of like businessmen getting together and like talking about stuff, and they're like, yeah, we're actually here to set out to do good. But like a lot of those meetings are just about like, hey man, like I'm having this issue with my business, you're having this issue, and let's bring people together and let's solve these business issues, as opposed to like the big end goal which the Rotary and stuff claims to be.
And now, not to get too deep into the weeds of politics, but I'll tell you, like why something like a Rotary Club is harmless to me versus something like an ALEC or a Cato Institute. Right? They're developing policy. Yeah. ALEC actually produces bills that sometimes are copy-pasted exactly by politicians.
Yeah.
And so that is like that's an organization I'll be like, okay, that organization is actually doing some stuff.
I'm not saying they're like equally dangerous, and I'm not trying to shit on the Rotary either. But like, it's a nice organization.
Hashtag fuck the Rotary, says Rupam Singh. Yo,
but there's a lot of these organizations. There's a lot of people, and this exists as like I've literally when I was younger, I used to go to church like almost every Sunday.
Yeah.
And when you go to
fuck the church.
Oh, yo. Man. Let's get into it.
I'm sorry. Go on.
No, but when you go to church and stuff, you'll see these people. Like there's always that those few people who are like kind of, they're like, okay, like we're here at church like every day. We know what's best for this church, and they go into like positions of power. They start organizing these meetings. They start meeting with other like business people using like religion as like a pretext. They're like, oh, let's organize like a prayer meeting at my house. Let's do this. But it's essentially just a way to like meet other like business people and like try and like drum up business and stuff, which is kind of what they even did in the show.
Right.
So that's I mean, even for me, like when I started to see that all of those things start to like kind of chip away at my little feeling of like what like religion is to me, kind of a thing.
Kind of a side point, but like that's where I think the organization may be dangerous, because I feel like anything that gets fraternal, anything where you build like a structure of human beings that are helping propagate or helping what's the word I'm looking for? Helping sustain some sort of
Ideology or
yeah, it's bad, right? Like
not necessarily though.
I mean, but it depends. So actually, you're right. So let me add to that. I think any organization that has such a flimsy basis in ideology,
Hmm.
that becomes very problematic for.
Yeah.
Because there's a great scene actually in there where the guy quotes the Bible to one of those religious
The
frat
brothers.
boys,
Yeah.
and he doesn't know because he's only read that like little pocketbook version of the Bible that they just get certain quotes that the only quotes that they want them to read.
Yeah.
And again, this is how terrorist organizations work as well. By the way,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, like people that want to attribute it to the religion as a whole. It's not always true. What generally happens is they'll give them the quotes they need to give them to indoctrinate them.
Hmm.
Right.
But like what like so what is your like what are your thoughts on like just like religion, like organized
You know,
religion
I'm a
or
Scientologist, and
yeah. I mean Zeno.
yeah, you know Zeno
We
and
can all agree
yeah,
that
Zeno.
Zeno
Yeah,
Zeno
that
is it.
Zeno guy.
Like
Yeah,
we were all confused for a while,
yeah,
and
we
then
were.
they came along and they were
Then I
like Zeno, and
found,
I was like, oh, why didn't I think of that?
man, the day I found our Lord and Savior Zeno.
Yeah.
It was a great day. No, I don't care much for religion. Um, I like studying religion, but I'm not religious. I think what the uh, political term I think is atheist.
Wow.
Yeah,
You always were like a bit of an extremist that way.
there's nothing extreme about my atheism.
I've seen you at rallies.
Go
Outside
on. What do I do at rallies?
outside churches saying there is no God.
Down with Jesus.
Yeah.
Down with.
And we are like, please, it's Sunday morning.
Then I
Some of us are just
then to-
hungover and
Shh.
trying to get through this
right,
service.
and then
Your
sometimes
yelling is not helping,
right,
sir.
and then sometimes to show the hypocrisy of Christianity, I will literally stone you guys.
Listen, man, we're often stoned ourselves, okay? But like the other kind of stoned.
Shots fired, huh?
No, man.
No.
We're stoned on incense.
Right. No, so yeah, I'm not religious, but I'm not one of those douchebag atheists. I don't judge too much what people believe in,
Hmm.
as long as you keep it out of your politics, and especially if you're a politician,
Hmm.
you need to keep it out of your politics.
Yeah, and I think that was the
yeah.
important part of the show as well, right? Like,
Right.
is to establish, and I think it did that to like a fairly good degree, about like saying it should be separate.
Yeah,
I didn't think it explained like the true dangers or the consequences of mixing it too much.
I
But I
think-
think it touched upon it.
I think I want to read this dude's books. He seems like he has a better sense of these things, and I might want to read his books because I feel like maybe in there I'll find more stuff. Maybe it
Hmm.
was just like, the filmmaker. I don't know. Even though he was a producer on it, but
Hmm.
let's get into that a little bit. Let's get in, or I should say, let's get into our personal beliefs and our views on religion. So I've just kind of given a brief overview of my views on religion. What about you?
So I have like a complicated like relationship with religion,
Mhm.
because I think a lot of these things, especially when you're growing up, you just go to church. It becomes habit for you. So
It's okay, Thomas. Just come out and say it. You're an evangelical. Just say it.
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't appreciate the language you use
Yeah.
sometimes on this podcast, and
I don't appreciate
what
the-
would Jesus?
I
think
don't.
of
I don't
this right
appreciate the
now?
homophobic slurs you use sometimes.
What?
Too.
I have never. I have never.
And how you talk about black people. It's just and
Listen, man, it's not all evangelicals
women.
are the same.
remember every time
who's
women come into the
stereotyping now?
house and like they sit amongst us and they're not in the kitchen and you get all mad because they're not in the kitchen.
I mean, come on. Like, what are you gonna do in that case?
No, I mean, look, I agree they should be in the kitchen, but
wow. This is how we get flagged. Saul,
no, I'm
Saul,
kidding.
Saul needs to be.
no, I'm
edited.
kidding. I'm sorry, I interrupted you for the sake of a cheap joke. Go on.
Yeah. No. Yeah, man. I think like just when you kind of like grow up, with like religious parents and stuff, where you go like every Sunday and stuff, you see the merits of it, but then you quickly, I think, as you age,
Hmm.
you reach like a point of being able to like kind of think for yourself.
Right.
The veneer starts to
Right. The
come off, you know.
idea of heaven literally existing becomes a little
Yeah.
like maybe I don't know if you can stand on clouds,
Yeah.
right? Stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, but like even more than that, I'll still say like I guess, and I hate like saying like, oh, I'm spiritual, but
No,
I'm
no,
not
it's okay.
religious. But I mean, I believe there is like some sort of like purpose kind of a thing that we're here for. I don't want to like get into like God created everything and stuff like that, because I don't think like that's
Right.
really true. Um, but I do believe like there's a space for spirituality, and in basically just guiding ethics and like I guess like a sense of like morality for like people. I think it's the basis on which we kind of like set ground rules for just how you kind of behave, or like how we kind of relate to each other in a community. I
Right.
think it sets good
Mm.
like just like good ground rules kind of
Right.
a thing.
Yeah, and look, and we've had tons of conversations about this before, but like I obviously disagree with that. But and earlier on, I used to be more of an asshole about this stuff. But like, I think today I'm in that space where I don't. I think I've learned to respect people's spirituality. I think I do have a very strong critique of organized religion,
Yeah, and I think
and I
that's
think you
where
do
we
as
both.
well.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
think like with organized religion, and this is kind of where you start to see it, right? And you start to see it even like literally in church. That's the most
Right.
ironic thing.
Yeah.
You start to see it in church, and like when you start to see like the scam of it. There's literally been an incident once when I was at church,
Hmm.
and of course like every church's bigger like plan is to build a bigger church,
Yeah.
like honestly. So this literally was happening in our church, and they're like, okay, we need to like build an extension, we want to make like a bigger church. And they're like, so we're gonna like start asking for donations. And they started reading aloud what family donated what amount, and they're like, oh, the Jacob family donated $15,000. Oh, the Joshua family gave only $10,000. We need to have like some more if we want to build this bigger church. And I was literally in there. I was, yo, I cannot believe this is happening.
Yeah. It's like,
It's so on the nose.
oh, Mr. Smith, you guys only donated $75. Do you not care about your Lord and Savior Jesus
Yeah,
Christ? Like
yeah,
that's
yeah. Honestly, it genuinely did come across that way, and I was just like, "Oh man, this is like really this is ridiculous." And that's
Yeah.
just one aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
But but I guess for anything to spread, for anything to like become a movement, any religion has to organize, and they kind of follow like the same old like pyramid scheme kind
Oh
of.
yeah. They all
It was like, oh yeah, bring your friends, and you go to this place, you go to this place, and sometimes if you need to get violent, hey man.
Yeah,
this
hey,
is-
sometimes you gotta
so-
kill some people,
yeah.
man. Hashtag the Crusades.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
Yeah.
like this is what God would want.
Yeah, like-
And my biggest issue, and like where I argue with my parents, because my parents are like fairly religious.
Yeah.
But like what I argue with them about the most is like, what would God want? Like God in like the broad sense of the word, and like just being again like a sense of
Yeah.
morality and stuff, as opposed to like what religion wants, are often very different things.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of like where it becomes weird to me is like I don't even say like necessarily what God wants, because like at least with Christians I always say like what would Jesus do?
Yeah.
Like when you talk about religion and what religion wants, you're really talking about what would these people that are trying to organize in the name of their religion and trying to essentially gain power.
Yeah.
Like what would they want is like a pretty standard answer,
Yeah.
right? They want more followers. How do they do that? Well, back in the day, it was just like, well, let's go, tell people convert, and if you don't,
The God will smite you.
yes, and by God I mean me, and by smite I mean me shoving my sword in you.
Yeah.
That's what that meant.
But I had a very interesting conversation with my mom about this, and because like, we get into this, right? Like it's a big thing of hers. Like I mean, it's a big issue that she has that I don't go to church every Sunday, kind of a thing
Right.
anymore. Like now that but I'm away, I'm in Canada, I don't go to church every Sunday.
It's,
But like
you,
I was talking to her and I was asking her like like why she really like got into it, like oh what really like fascinates her about like say Christianity and stuff. And essentially I kind of like started to like draw parallels almost like in what she was saying, and I told like she started telling me about like the story of Christ kind of a thing. And when you kind of take away like all like the frills of it, she kind of told me that what really fascinated her was the fact that there was this dude who came in when people were being persecuted. There was a lot of injustice at the time. There's a lot of injustice where there was like kings and there was a lot of wealthy people, and there was the rest, like the rest seemed to be like very poor and very like they were like not only being like I guess persecuted for their own beliefs, they were being persecuted just because they didn't have means.
yes.
And then came along this guy who
Right.
kind of
Think I know where
spoke
you're going.
truth to power.
This
And
Jewish carpenter.
yeah, this
Yeah.
Jewish carpenter there. And I was just like, man, this has a very Bernie vibe
Yeah.
to it, you know.
Yeah.
And I told her about it, and I was like, this is kind of like what this guy Bernie Sanders is doing, and she was like, but this is what it is, right?
Oh no,
I think
agree.
this is what the original appeal is of all,
Yeah.
I guess, like big movements. And I don't want to get into like religious movements versus
No, no.
political movements, but there, what appeals to people is like someone is standing up for us, like the underclass, right? Kind of
Right.
like even like when it's on our website, right? When you're underrepresented and you don't have a voice, and suddenly someone comes along and is like, hey man, these people deserve to be like heard too, or like let's get together and talk
Yeah.
about this, you know.
Yeah.
It's basically a form of, it's a movement. And
Yeah.
as I just found it interesting,
Right,
the kind of
right.
like parallels she draws,
Yeah.
or like that's at the very essence of
Right.
it, like what she kind of takes
Yeah.
out of religion.
And Bernie was crucified by the media too.
I mean, I don't think he's physically been crucified
Hey
yet.
man, I bet it was painful. um, no, I agree, and I think that's why I've stopped like this blanket religion is bullshit thing, because I realized like no, you can find some, like especially like if you're talking to religious people, I think you can find some stuff in there that I think you can use to be like, okay, this is your religion.
Hmm.
This Jesus guy seemed pretty nice, didn't he?
Hmm.
He's always trying to help the poor,
Yeah.
always trying to fight for people's rights. And then, like, the evil establishment,
Hmm.
you know, they were like, no, Mr. Jesus, you can't.
Yeah.
And then Jesus was like, no, to you, Mr. Establishment person.
Yeah, it's basically it's them saying fake news. And
Yeah.
like you know, it's what happens even today, and like most even in like I guess in where we're going into the politics of it, but like in
Yeah,
most
we should.
political movements even now, it's like people are called out, right? Like when you
Yeah.
do speak truth to power, and suddenly you have the establishment saying no, that's fake. That's not what's happening.
Mm-hmm. So, right. I should say that I was actually raised a Sikh, and my parents are, well, my mom and my sister are fairly religious. My dad, not really. Yeah, I never had. I kind of just want to address it because I said, and I'm an atheist, so I just want to tell people like how I got here.
Hmm.
I never had like an aha moment, and I've heard from people like, I mean, maybe I'm just dumber than other people, but like I've heard other people say like when I was like 12 or 13, I realized, and like it didn't happen to me that early. I gotta be honest with you, like I think it was 16, 17 ish, maybe even 18 ish when I even even realized that there was such a thing as like not believing in God. And I think it was like a slow and steady 4 to 5 year, like, journey and at the end of it, I finally became absolutely irreligious. But there was like I went from like believing in God to believing, oh, there's not a God, there's just a higher power,
Hmm.
right? And then went into believing in energies,
Hmm.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Vibes.
vibes and the whole the secret
Yeah.
stuff. Like I
Yeah. Yeah.
believed in that for a quick bit, and then I went from that to being agnostic, being like no. And then one day, I think I must have been around 23. I was just like I think I just had like a real conversation with myself, and I realized, yeah, I think I see where my belief is on this,
Hmm.
and I think that's kind of how. And it was like a 4 to 5 year journey, and I just want to say that just because like I just want to tell people it's okay,
Hmm.
you know, to like you don't have to be an atheist, but like if you're going through like that like change, like don't worry too much about what people are thinking. Like
Hmm.
and that this is why I always tell people like belief is such a personal thing, and you should
Yeah,
keep to
for sure.
yourself.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't like it. Like it when people kind of throw it on to others.
Hmm.
And I'm saying that, and I would say that about being an atheist as well,
Yeah.
right? That like it's a you thing, and don't worry too much about like what people. Even if you're religious right now, and there's assholes out there that bother you about it, don't worry. It's not about them. It's a you thing. You figure it out, but keep it to you. Make sure the only reason you should be religious is because it makes your day better and your life better.
Yeah.
But just you
Yeah.
or your family. Like that's about it. You know?
Yeah, I think it comes down to belief systems. I think like when people say like I'm a man of faith or like I'm a woman of faith, I think it's essentially them saying or admitting to themselves that they don't control everything. And some people just want to believe that someone is out there,
Yeah.
and they're making this leap of faith to kind of be like something else is looking out for me, because they don't want to
Yeah.
believe that I'm alone and fuck.
No,
That's it.
dude, I totally get it because
And that is a very, very personal thing,
yeah,
right?
no,
Like,
and I get it. The world's a dark place. Like
Yeah.
sometimes, like it's hard to believe that there's no one out there looking out for us, and
Hmm.
so I get why people are attracted to it. I totally do. But even though he's a bit of an asshole on this, I love Bill Maher's joke on this, where he goes like, I hate people that." Start everything with, well, I'm a Christian. Would you like some fries with that? Well, I'm a Christian. I love that shit. But that's, those are the sorts of religious people I hate. I don't care what you believe in.
Hmm.
Do whatever you,
Yeah, as long as you
yeah.
don't like impose
Yeah.
your religious beliefs or your spiritual beliefs on other people,
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Is that what we're doing right now, though, when we tell people? Are we saying
No, we're not. Because I think what we're saying is,
convert to Christianity? Link in bio.
no, Thomas. No one's converting to
Oh,
Christianity as long as I'm here.
I should tell you I'm a part of the family.
You are?
Yeah. I
Oh.
wanted to wait until the end of the episode. But secretly, this has been my agenda all along.
Right. So let me just say to you directly, sir, your organization is a shit organization.
Listen, man, we try our best.
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't think you do.
We've reached 4 episodes of this podcast, and you had no idea. And now that we have all of 6 followers,
Okay.
I think it's enough.
So you're
I
basically
think the
saying
movement has
So you're-
reached peak capacity at this
no,
point.
let me just like kind of understand what you're saying. So you're saying you became friends with me in 2013,
Yes.
built up, and at no point did you say, "Oh, we should start a podcast." But you had a hunch
Yeah.
that at some point I would say to you, Thomas, we should start a podcast. You had a hunch
Listen,
in 2013,
the documents,
6 years ago.
the documents that we have,
Yeah.
which were not shown on the Netflix show,
Yeah.
which we did very strategically.
You have
We have it's
is
called,
it telekinesis or
it's
telepathy?
called-
Telekinesis.
It's called the 6-year plan,
right.
And
But you also had
year
telekinetic
six
powers. No,
is
kinetic. No,
to
it's telepathy. Is the
yeah. But in year six,
yeah.
and this is where it gets wild. Year
Right.
six is like that's the year, man.
Right.
That's when you float the idea of
Right.
a podcast or some sort of
Mm.
media organization
Yeah.
where you try and reach out to more people
And
than
then you
just this
yeah.
one friendship because you're like,
And then you do a couple episodes on random stuff, and then about
yeah,
around episode 4,
four,
you're
yeah.
like, "Hey, man,"
It's a very specific
and you
menu.
hope. Oh, maybe you guys timed it. You were like, "Oh, episode 3 is out. Put it on Netflix. Put it on Netflix," and you put the documentary out so that I would then suggest to you,
We should talk about this.
right? And then you
then
were like, "Ha ha."
exactly.
You would message your cronies like, "Got
Yeah.
him."
And I just want everyone to know that if you do click on the link in bio and convert to Christianity, you will get $10 off your next Uber ride.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird. So you guys have like an Uber sponsorship.
Yeah. Yeah. Uber is also very Christian.
Is it?
Yeah.
Right.
Not
I thought
Lyft.
like it'd be like more like Chick-fil-A or something.
No, I mean, chicken is good. Like, you can't say no to that. But, like, everyone's going vegan and shit now. So
Oh,
we're
I
like,
see.
fuck,
So you're
man.
like, you
People
can't
still
do-
need to get places. I
Right.
mean, how are you going to get to Chick-fil-A?
Right.
Or how are you going to get to Planta Vegan in your Uber? $10 off. But
Right.
at what cost?
Right. It's weird. Very progressive yet fundamentalist at the same time.
I'm telling you, it has to be strategic.
Right. Well, that's it's fascinating stuff,
Yeah.
Thomas.
We went really philosophical and then we went full idiot.
Yeah, that like that's even my dumb brain. Like and it's hard
Couldn't
to
fathom.
it's hard to shake my dumb brain because it's already so lacking in
Have
brain
I
cells.
rocked your foundation.
Even I like at the end of it was like, what do I say now? Because there was
We
literally
leave you speechless.
I was you.
Well, mission accomplished.
Oh, there you go.
Have
Is
spread
that what
my
the family
agenda.
does? Just take
Yeah.
your brain cells away?
Yeah,
Right.
that's a big part of the plan.
That's a big part of religion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Organized religion.
Organized religion. Sure. The other thing, just before we leave, I want to talk about, Thomas, is pretty nasty individual called Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
He offed himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he
was found
allegedly
dead
he
in
committed
his
suicide.
jail cell.
In a way, good riddance to bad garbage,
Yes.
but also fuck him for taking the coward's route out.
Mm.
You know, you can't be a nasty motherfucker your entire life and really harass and exploit and abuse not women, girls,
Yeah.
kids, children for years and years and years. And apparently he ran some sort of almost sex trafficking racket.
Yeah.
And he would target again, children from poor families and families that didn't have a lot of means, so they kind of were almost, felt the need to do it because, again, this guy was a billionaire, so he could sort of entice them with money and I'm sure some sort of other incentives. And he did this for years, and then like a fucking coward, he didn't even have he wasn't even able to deal with his
The consequences, even.
yeah, like a man,
Yeah.
and so yeah, fuck Jeffrey Epstein, and I hope he burns in hell if there is a hell. I think it's fitting
Mm.
to say that.
It is, yeah.
All right. So that's that. Is there anything else before we leave, Thomas? Leave us on a happier note because it's like that was pretty sad.
Nah, man, I'm just glad that Netflix is picking up a lot of stuff. I hope that one day they pick up our little our little podcast,
Well, we'll have
and they make it a live action movie.
a live action movie
Yeah,
of a
and-
podcast.
Yeah,
That's a
where
fascinating
they
idea.
will have animals that will play us.
Oh.
And the animals would be adorable.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, Netflix, if you're out there and you're listening
Yeah, and you want to adapt this podcast for the big screen.
for the big screen.
Yeah, that should be fun.
Yes.
We should actually at some point also do like a video version of this podcast so people
Yes,
can see
yeah.
us.
I think we'll do that on
Yeah.
episode 5.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You think it's going to happen
Yeah.
that soon?
Yeah, man. I'll get like a tripod.
Okay.
I have a camera.
Yeah, because we're beautiful to look at.
This is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, please go check us out on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. At all of these places, you can find us as the Dopest Generation or Dopest Generation.
Yeah. And we're on iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher.
And YouTube.
And YouTube too.
So anywhere, all you need to do is go the Dopest Generation,
yeah.
and you should be able to find us. And again, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, we are called Dopest Generation.
Yeah.
Also, if you want to email us with ideas or questions or comments, you can email us at dopestgeneration@gmail.com.
Also, if you want to be a guest, if you
Yeah.
just want to come in, just share your story, do a little plug about something cool that you're doing.
Yeah, you better be interesting, though.
Yeah, you have to be interesting,
Yeah,
though.
because we're interesting.
So, if you have anything in your life that's even remotely interesting,
All right.
but it has to be interesting.
All right, then.
Our high standards of interesting.
Okay, cool. Let me just stop you there before you say something you regret, Thomas.
Okay.
Okay, and that was episode 4, ladies and gentlemen, of the Dopest Generation Podcast. Have a good day or night, depending on when you're listening to this.
Yeah, because it's night right now, man.
Yes,
but
it
this is the podcasting life.
Right, I guess it is.
Yeah.
People will. Well, you know, they will. Well, fuck. All right, we're out. Our brains are fried. Good night, goodbye, or
Good night
whatever.
and good